David Jones how he had met Hugh Masekela.
It goes way back actually. I was asked to organise the Tour of Hope in Europe in 1994, and this was Hugh and his ex-wife Miriam Makeba touring together to celebrate freedom in South Africa, and it was a wonderful show. I mean, they would sort of stomp on stage and have such a fantastic time performing and delighting in South Africa's newfound freedom. And then every night they'd had this thing for years and years where they would say, you know, boycott apartheid, boycott apartheid. And they would go on stage and go, give South Africa all your money, you know. And we had a wonderful time together with 44 dates all over Europe. And I got to know Hugh well at that point. And then he came inside Sirius and worked with us on events. And I think what he particularly enjoyed was the way that we gave him the room to create new work, new collaborations with people. Sometimes he would accuse me of deliberately dropping him into really difficult situations, but we made all sorts of things happen. I remember particularly the work that we did with the London Symphony Orchestra, who commissioned Jason Yard to write a trumpet concerto, which he did for Hugh. Not any old trumpet concerto, but something that was really based on the nuances of how Hugh played the horn. And that was played a couple of times with the London Symphony Orchestra, a wonderful piece of music.
And so how would you sum up his influence on the global music scene?
He was a great symbol of liberation. I mean, he wrote songs that in a few verses managed to create a sense of force for change, but also a sense of joy. I mean, he brought that to everything he played and everything he did. I don't remember a time when I worked with Hugh where I wasn't helpless with laughter at some point. He was so funny and so smart. And he'd sort of chosen to take a road that wasn't a conventional make me famous, make me more famous, but he had stuck to his own guns, and he'd been through all sorts of difficulties during the apartheid years. And then he had this golden Indian summer where he was creating amazing things, using that material, rethinking what he'd done, and inspiring anew people who were far too young to have experienced it all first time round.
Did he enjoy working with these younger artists and influencing them?
Yeah, he was really fired up by that. I mean, I think one of the first big pieces we did was a collaboration between Hugh and Jazz Jamaica All-Stars. So he had a big band playing his music, which he absolutely delighted in. And then we brought that together with 150 young singers from the East End of London. And he loved the fact that these kids were discovering his music and was thrilled to hear black British musicians who came from a Caribbean heritage playing inside his music and giving a whole new feel to it.
How will you remember Hugh Masekela?
I only heard about his death a few hours ago, so for me I'm still coming to terms with it. But strange, it's not a surprise, and one of the things that I feel very much now is that I've almost been dunked into 30 or so years of my own experience of Hugh's music and the amazing things that he did. And I think some of those things will come back into focus now. People will realise just how good some of the things that he maybe only did a few times were. And I think now people will be playing some of his great songs. They'll be looking at some of the opera that he wrote, some of the things that have been a bit sort of pushed to the margins of what he did. And I think most of all, it's his spirit that we need to celebrate. You know, that sense of questing, that sense of never just being satisfied with where you are, but looking forward and looking to change things. And if we can find ways to express that, working with young South African musicians, working with people who are hearing Hugh Masekela for the first time, then there's a very, very exciting thing there at the core to work with.